Welcome once again to Dave Blaze over there in the US, and they're responsible for this war. Now, it's going to hurt the whole world, Dave. Is it going to come off?
Who's responsible? Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Who's responsible for this war? Certainly not the Americans. You mean the Iranian crazy regime that's been chanting death to America and death to Israel for the last 5 decades, 6 decades?
I remember a quote from the Old Testament in the Bible that says, there will never be peace between Jew and Arab.
See, this is not an Arab Israeli or an Israeli Muslim fight, because the Iranians they don't like anybody. What they want to do is control the entire Middle East, and they're using Putin as their queen, and Russia is their queen that's helping them accomplish that goal. But that's their goal. This isn't just an anti-Israel thing. That's how they trick the surrounding Arab nations, Muslim nations, into following them by making Israel the scapegoat for everything.
Well, they got a new guy in there, which is son of the original. And if there's a death sentence, I wouldn't accept the job, Dave.
Well, he's got to be the loneliest man on earth, right? Because who in the world wants to, like, oh, come over to my house, we'll have dinner together. Well, I'm planning on walking around during that time. I'll see you another time.
Well, he's got to
Who's going to sit down? Who's going to meet with this man?
try.
He's going to get hit with a bomb or a missile at any moment.
I'm sure behind the scenes there, somebody's talking to him and saying, look, we've taken father out of the system. We can take you out of the system. How about a deal?
The greatest thing that guy could do is abdicate and just say, look, I don't want this position, and I'm out of here, and look for some country that'll take him. Russia. Why don't they just flee to Moscow?
Yeah, there's a
Let
good
them flee to
point.
Moscow.
But I tell you what, it's brought to light the true state of Great Britain. This is the truly end of empire. I cannot think of, well, he seemed to get on with Sir Keir, with Donald, but Donald doesn't want to know. I mean, apparently they did have eventually yesterday a conversation for about 20 minutes, followed by a conversation between the Donald and the Putin, and that was over an hour. So that
Yeah.
is a sign of where we're at. Britain has lost it completely under this socialist government.
Well, just realize, Rodney, the Europeans in general, and this is from an American point of view, they always want to stay out of conflict. They want to cry, they want to whine, they want to say, oh, we can't, oh, we're not making whatever it is, but they never want to actually be confrontational to anybody. So, and then they sucker in the United States. So in this particular situation, President Trump approached Prime Minister Starmer and was like, listen, we'd like your assistance in this. No, didn't want to get involved. After the United States and Israel bombed the daylights out of the Iranian weapon system and the Navy, then Britain wanted to send the aircraft carrier. Trump said that, forget it.
You can understand why that was the case. And it has brought shame on the country that we can't even get into the Mediterranean with any warship and defend Cyprus, our own territory on the island of Cyprus. And we've got to
Right.
rely on the French to help us out. And let's be honest, Dave, the carrier, they're a sitting duck. They've got to have a fleet of warships around them to protect them. Then they become useful. And we've not
Well,
got the
okay.
ships.
You mean you don't have the ships?
to defend the aircraft carrier, never mind to take any positive action. We're relying on the French to send their ships to defend our aircraft carriers.
I was not aware of that. So you're saying that Britain really doesn't have much of a navy?
When we used to live on the Isle of Wight, which is opposite Portsmouth, where all the boats are,
Right.
our back garden, yard, literally was the beach, and we saw all the ships that the Navy had. And they, quite a few minesweepers, but they are limited in what they can do. But the real hardware, which was billions of pounds on the two aircraft carriers, that's fine. But it's not going to go anywhere with the rest of the Navy not working. All we've got is some very good, that can fly sometimes off aircraft carriers. We've got a good RAF, and they at least are helping out. But forget the Army.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. Flipping the interviewer, the questioning around. Is that because Great Britain and Europe, for the most part, has relied too heavily on the United States?
Absolutely. Now they've seen the light and they're saying, well, if the French get a couple of aircraft carriers, the Brits get a couple of frigates and a destroyer, then we'll all eventually help each other out. But you cannot rely on other nations. They can have friends in peculiar places. Europe is divided. It's not like America. You could say Europe wants to become like America, with each country being a state. Never will happen, Dave.
No.
We're too different, and we're very different from America. Sometimes it alarms Europe and Britain when Trump and his advisors stand up there and they start shouting and talking, we're going to wipe you out, toast, in their eyes. But it doesn't work that way. Perhaps it's because our attitude is a bit more laid back.
Yeah. Well, you guys had a lot of fighting spirit when you voted in on Brexit.
Indeed, just voted in on Brexit, and we still have Farage that is licking his wound a bit because Keir Starmer wants us back in Europe. Now, it's very encouraging that he's with Donald Trump as we speak. Keir Starmer should be over there, but it's Nigel Farage. And my bet, although they are not without money, I reckon that the Donald would be very pleased to see them in power.
Yeah, that would be a good thing for the United States. But at the same time, we have this situation going on with Russia and Ukraine right now. Do you realize that Ukraine, Zelensky is sending which is a crack team, their team of drone flyers, their drone team, to protect the United States bases in the area. So in case Iran tries to use their kamikaze drones or attack our bases with their drone, the Ukrainian team will attack those and help defend the bases. That's pretty good. Now, you would think that maybe France or Germany or some other nation, like especially Germany, where we have one of our largest military bases, and contribute a great deal to the German economy, you would think that they would jump at the opportunity to defend the bases in the area, but no.
There's a lot of hate between Zelensky and Putin, and people have given up of curing that. So it's got to be a deal that somebody does on their behalf. But it's dragged on now for nearly 5 years, Dave. And I'm reminded of that when the Donalds says, we're ahead of the game here. It's going to be very short. Now, that game yesterday evening stretched to 8 weeks, 2 months. Last night, it was announced that after President Trump had made his big summation of the war so far, that it will not be over as quickly as we thought. And the pundits are saying about 8 weeks. Hope they're wrong, because we can't afford the petrol prices.
Well, hold on a second. All right, hold on a second. You have a regime that has been causing the great majority of terrorism across the Middle East and elsewhere. Okay? So now you have an American president who's willing to stand up and go, all right, that's enough. They're done. And you mean to say that people are not going to be like, okay, all right, if the gas prices are higher for a little while, fine. Let's get rid of those guys.
I mean, I'm not frankly one of them. I mean, I'm prepared, and so are most people, I would guess, to suffer a bit, because that regime is unbelievable. It's been in power for 50 years, and in the last month and a bit, it has killed 40,000 people plus, young people. It's unforgivable. Something's got to happen. You can't go on appeasing nations like that. However much you talk to them, it will be a waste of time.
You can't talk to people like that. That's why the regime putting forward the Ayatollah's son is so disturbing, right? Instead of, they obviously think they can remain in power. Wait until the world and the people of Iran start to realize that the Ayatollah and all of those guys have socked away billions of dollars for their own private fortunes and so on. All of that'll come out. All of that'll come out. He's going to. They're not going to have any kind of a mandate to rule in that nation any longer.
No, but everybody agrees on one thing. There's got to be a decent uprising from the inhabitants of the land. That's going to be tough.
It is, because I think for the most part, the people that are uprising are young, and they don't remember, or they don't know how it was, and that it was good, and they had a democrat society, and it was yes, they had the Shah there and so on, but even so, it was a much freer nation. There was education. It was a much better society than it is today. So those young people don't realize that. All they can realize is what they see online, and maybe if they're fortunate enough to visit other nations. But otherwise, they have no frame of reference. So we would have to be in there helping them take their country back.
Yeah, but double tough job. And within all this, I've said it reveals where each nation is. I tell you what, Great Britain and the United States have a very similar problem at the moment, and it's the crazies. There's lots of crazies around in both countries, and they are defying gravity. They come out with statements that are from the lunatic asylum, basically. Oh, we're going to let everybody in the country. We're going to let everybody have free drugs. What sort of a person can vote, as has happened to that in Great Britain, in Manchester? They vote for the Greens, who have crazy policies.
Yeah. What we have, and it's very interesting you bring that out, because what we have is the same type of group of lunatics here in the United States. They have primarily infiltrated the MAGA movement, or they've tried to anyway. And they are who you see online. They are the MAGA influencers, the nihilists. Everything is bad all the time, always. They're constantly what they call black pilling. In other words, enlightening you to how horrible your existence is. Okay. And their goal, how we see their goal is that they're looking to divide the conservative, the conservative groups. All right. So they're striving right now to pit Protestants and evangelicals against Catholics. They're trying to pit the Muslims against the Israelis. They're trying to wage war between all these various groups so that the conservative bloc, which elected President Trump, is so divided and splintered that the Democrat wins or the Democrat Party takes control. And then, and here's the catch, then they want to move in and basically take over the Republican Party with their own crazy ideology to keep the conservatives out of office for decades to come. These MAGA influences on X, you'll see them, you know who they are actively trying, working hand in hand with the Democrats to elect anyone on the left.
I mean, is this Marxism when you analyze it, Dave?
I think it is. I think it's a form of Marxism. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. They've adopted these strange, I don't know how they got in. You know, it's almost unbelievable. They start, well, how they get in is like this. They start off very patriotic, we're patriots, but then they start the whole ball rolling. It's always the hatred of the Jews. That's their common denominator. Everything that's wrong in the world is Jewish. My engine ran out of oil. This is a Jewish engine. I can't close my closet door because it's a little slanted. I forgot to sand it on one side. That's Jewish. It's always the Jews' fault.
I mean,
that's their common denominator.
In the US, then, what have the Jews done to earn their hatred from the majority of the population? Are they
What did
jealous?
the Jews do to earn their hatred of the population in Europe? Even in the Middle Ages. This is where all of this craziness emanates from. These people that are doing their dirt in the dark need a boogeyman. And that's really all it is. They need somebody to circle the wagons around and say, this is our problem.
I am quite shocked, as no doubt you are, that when you're talking about Trump versus whoever is on the left, the Democrats,
yeah,
then it's marginal. It's not a vast number. It's nearly 50-50. I thought the American public were a bit more savvy.
The voter is a lot more savvy. In other words, if you go up and down your wherever you live and knock on your neighbors' doors and you ask them about the things that political types like us discuss all the time, they don't care. Right? They don't care. If they're living their life and they're doing fine and everything else, it's like, oh, Trump's the president? Yeah, that's great. I'm going to vote for him again. That's all. There's no wrangling and all of this. Oh, well, he did this and this happened and that. None of that. The regular voters, the people that actually have jobs are not as involved as us crazy people in politics.
So basically, we're stuck with the system, both sides of the pond that we have. I say that, but of course, Starmer has been utterly rejected. That's not really happened by the majority. That's not really happened in America.
Oh, no. The Americans, listen. Trump is very popular. Trump is very popular, regardless of what some of these polls come out. He's more, let me put it this way. He's more popular than Sandy Cortez. He's more popular than Newsom, the governor of California. He's more popular than the late night TV hosts. This is a new poll that just came out. So Trump still has a great popularity. If we can get rid of this Iranian regime, get back to normal, already oil prices have diving back to where they need to be. Oil prices will get down to around $60, $70 a barrel where they were. That's it. Then the average voter will say, yeah, we beat them. Good. Rodney, do you realize the level of trade there will be if there's a Democrat government in Iran that is cooperative with Egypt and Israel and Saudi Arabia, and there's travel and tourism and all of it? Do you realize the amount of trade that the United States could do in Iran and in Venezuela, and the wealth that'll come from that? And the President Trump wanted Britain to be involved.
Yeah.
They said no. Well, we can't get involved. Okay.
Interesting times, Dave. Literally, day to day, it does change, and I suppose it gives people like us something to do.
That's right.
Never been a time when so much news, good, bad, and totally irrelevant, is out there. Diagnosing, it needs somebody to see around the social media revolution.
Yep.
And a lot of people really are now saying, wow, what have we unleashed?
I know.
We'll see you next week, Dave.
All right.